This sinner is relatively easy to handle in terms of personality. However, an upsurge of emotion or a sudden change of environment may cause parts or the whole of his body to transform into insectile, notably akin to a carapace, resembling that of the tissues. If you do not wish to be a rude manager, not that you're obligated to be nice, we recommend keeping your facial expression in check so that your disgust is not visible to him. He sometimes uses cynical language, but he can still be reasoned with, and you can get around him without much difficulty as long as you learn the knack of it.
And welcome to Soulmates, where we talk about all our favorite little guys in all our favorite little games. I'm Ivy Fox. You can find me at Ivy Fox Art on co-host, and you can find the horror fiction podcast I'm making at The Mad Bird on your podcast app of choice. Joining me, as always, is Ash.
Hi, I'm Ash. You can find me at ko-fi.com/asherlark. I also run the co-host for this podcast, which is Soul-Mates-Podcast, and I am the co-host for this podcast. I think this is funny every time I say it. Anyway, Ivy's about to subject me to a personal form of psychological torture. Ivy?
Our theme is by Sueños Electrónicos, who you can find at sueñoselectronicos.bandcamp.com, and our cover art is by Rygarden, who you can find on Instagram. What are we doing? We're doing something different. This episode... This episode, we're talking about the characters from Limbus Company by Project Moon. Why am I still looking at my thing as if it's gonna tell me what to say?
It's not gonna help you.
A blend of cute, appealing anime girls with turning men into bloody pulp. In their words, not mine.
That's not their words.
That's not their words.
Those are your words, not theirs.
Are there cute and appealing anime girls in this game?
That's a really, really good question.
I think
it's really making me think. I'm going to say yes on a technicality.
Okay.
Do you want me to elaborate?
Yes, please.
The characters from Lobotomy Corporation make cameos in this video game as special event battle announcers. So you can get Malkuth and Angela from Lobotomy Corporation as special event battle announcers, and they are, by definition, cute and appealing anime girls, made to be cute and appealing.
You don't think that Don Quixote is a cute and appealing anime girl?
No.
Do you think Don Quixote, the original character from the book, is a cute and appealing anime girl?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're talking about Limbus Company because, I started playing Limbus Company, and we stayed up till 5 a.m. playing Limbus Company, and it's the only thing I can talk about, and this podcast is theoretically... Even though we're trapped in the hell of doing Mahjong Soul for beep amount of time, this podcast is in theory about sort of like gacha game art in general.
In general.
And so we can do whatever the fuck we want, and...
We really can.
Yeah. We could just talk about Limbus Company. I mean, we only get 12 episodes out of it, but...
I would die. This
Ash
one I'm
die.
enduring. I'm being really strong.
Ash is a fan of Limbus Company. one could say.
Yeah, it's important to specify. I really, really like this video game.
Uh-huh.
Like, I really like this video game. And that's why that's why I feel ill when I speak about it.
I can't believe Gregor is the first man we're talking about on this podcast.
Oh!
It's not even a man from Mahjong Soul. It's Gregor.
It's not even a man. We had to, like, intersect.
Gregor's 5'6"? Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm looking at the wiki.
He's a really fucking... Have you not noticed from his character sprites that he's, like, real short?
Not really. It kind of renders them all at similar heights often.
Maybe.
And, like, a lot of the art is kind of stylized and, like, positions people based on sort of, like, visual hierarchy more than, like, literal height. So I haven't noticed that he's 5'6".
He's really extremely 5'6".
Wow.
Just, like, I'll show you later an image of him and Roja next to each other, and you'll, like, figure it out. Because she's a very tall woman, and he's a very short man. This is why they're really cute together.
Uh-huh. Anyway, we'll get back to fucking Mahjong people in a little bit. We're just taking a little breather to talk about a little something else. Let's talk about Gregor.
Gregor is Gregor Samsa from Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis.
Which is funny because it has nothing to do with his character.
That's not true.
He doesn't metamorphosize.
That's not true.
He doesn't feel alienated from others or his own body.
That's not true.
It's really weird that they did this.
Ivy, you know what they call me?
Ash?
The truth statue. And so I can't just let you say things that are wrong. Fun facts about Gregor Samsa, because I can't help myself. His Korean voice actor is really good and is also the Korean voice of Mr. Krabs. They make an in-text joke about this during the event Chapter 3.5.
Well, are you ready, kids?
Let's go to the Inferno. He's sinner number 13, which means that he's last in the list of 12 playable characters. But he's 13 because Dante is number 10, so, like, everybody after, who's number 9? Everybody after Rodia gets, shoved off by one. So Sinclair is 11, Otis is 12, and then Gregor is 13. And his, particulars, as listed on his fucking employee file, are repulsive and spontaneously metamorphic. Particulars, repulsive.
I disagree with this. I think he's a nice guy. He's probably like the most nice and normal person on the team.
Genuinely, yeah. He's extremely nice and normal. I mean, that's part of the employee file that we read out too. His personality is real nice. It's just that his bug arm is so gross. He's repulsive.
Yeah. I don't know, I think it looks nice.
It kind of does.
Do you want to look at this first piece of art?
Yeah.
I don't know where to direct people to find these because his wiki page doesn't have the name of the things. So I guess we'll direct them to limbuscompany.fandom.com/wiki/list of identities and then scroll down until you find Gregor and then click on, we're going to start with his default, which is LCB Sinner Gregor.
I mean, you can mouse over them and the alt text tells you their names at the bottom of his page.
Well...
You can also do that, dear listeners. Is this his full piece of art? Is there any way to look at his full piece of art? This is, all of the base identities, their, like, banners are just, like, a cutout from the splash art that you can find at the top of his main, wiki page. So you should really just look at the splash art on the top of his main wiki page for the first one. Because it's a full body illustration, and also it's the sprite that they use for him.
There's a category, Gregor identities. Okay, this is good to know. I just need to know what to put in the show notes.
Sure.
Anyway, I'm trying to find the full art now, but I've lost it. I've completely lost the plot. I have no idea
just
where I am.
Just go to limbuscompany.fandom.com/wiki/Gregor.
/wiki/Gregor.
And then it's the picture at the top of the page.
Man, it's like it's wild. It's kind of a mess in a lot of ways, but Mahjong Soul Club is actually like quite well kept.
It really is. It's mostly because it's not
like,
a fandom wiki.
Navigable. Yeah, it's like a really nicely built little thing. And then I go to a fandom wiki and I'm like, oh right, hell.
Sorry for your loss.
Anyway, I'm looking at the Gregor splash art. We don't fully know how this will go, by the way. This is experimental. We're experimenting. We're allowed to do this.
We are. We can do whatever the hell we want.
We can do whatever the fuck we want. Do you think this should be a bonus episode? Because it's not. Absolutely not. This is a main episode, and everyone's just gonna fucking deal with it.
This is season 2, episode 1, but it's in the middle of season 1.
Wow, I might label it as season 2, episode 1. Oh,
Thanks.
That'd be so funny. This season, season 2.
We talk about Limbus Company, but only sometimes and when we want to.
Anyway, it's Gregor.
It's Gregor.
I think that his big bug arm is not unappealing.
It is appealing. Well, like, you and I, Ivy, are...
I'm so curious how you're going to end this sentence. There's so many different words that you could use.
I'm torn between saying freaks and furries. But they convey the same thing in this instance, which is to say, I think we would both be really excited about being transformed into monstrous vermin.
I mean, I do have a spider persona. Have you seen her?
Exactly. I have.
Yeah, I like her. I should get more art of her made. Anyway.
So, like, I think we're not inherently repulsed by a big old bug arm.
Yeah, like, there's part of me that, like, it looks really... Ash, have you ever touched a bug?
Hell yeah, I have. I've touched many bugs in my day.
It's got, like... the way that it's drawn, it's got, like... Let me briefly describe Gregor, because it's super easy. He's got sort of messy brown hair tied in a ponytail. He's got sort of like stubble. He's wearing a white shirt, a sort of black vest with a name tag and black slacks. He's got sort of like a military looking coat slung over his shoulder. He's in sort of like an abstract city landscape, and then there's a bunch of bugs.
He's surrounded by roaches.
And then he's got a giant fucking bug scythe arm for his right arm, which... Important
notes, he also like wears glasses, always has a cigarette in his mouth, and always is pictured with a cockroach friend somewhere in the art. In his main sprite, it's on his shoulder. I think there's 2 of them in this one because one of them is rendered in the background. I don't understand fully, but... He also has the word Ungezeifer tattooed on his human forearm. This is German for vermin, and is the name of his weapon being his big scythe bug arm.
Anyway, back to touching bugs. Bugs have many textures. The texture of a bug. The texture of a bug. Just the sentence fills my heart with joy.
The texture of a bug.
The texture of a bug. And to be clear, I'm a fan of all bug textures.
So true.
I think all bug textures are good. some of them are a little rough.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are like kind of squishy, often little like very small ones where they're like too small to even really have a like fully dense carapace. And so they're kind of squishy. You've got your sort of fuzzy ones. But his arm very strongly has the texture of like a beetle shell or like the back
that was
of a
the exact
large
words
ant.
I would have used.
And it looks really smooth and cool and nice.
It's also, I think, as somebody who's trying to draw basically all of these characters at various points in time, I love the way it's rendered. Like, I love the joint, which, like, would be an elbow, but is instead this weird hooked claw thumb. But it's, like, most visually reminiscent of just, like, big, long bug feet. It's, like, the forearm is the leg, and then the whole scythe part is the hand/foot, covered in little burrs to hold on to things, and so forth. And I think it's really appealing to think of that particular apparatus on a bug as then a deadly weapon. Because that's not how it works.
I'm just gonna go Google it. I'm gonna search bug leg.
Just
leg.
Google
Google
listeners,
bug leg.
Google a bug.
It immediately gave me a leg, and
exactly.
I see it. I think I'm gonna bleep out that word.
That would be funny. Thank you.
Oh my god, I gotta make so much editing work for myself. But yeah,
I'm gonna give you a little more. He's often associated with, but his arm and general bug features are not explicitly said to be from any specific species of bug.
Yeah, and it's like, damn, finally, we've managed to, like, find a way to put a man in front of me who I find kind of attractive. But it's none of the parts of him that are a man. It's just the parts of him that is a big bug arm.
Oh yeah.
It just looks nice. I think you're correct in that thinking about how it bends is very funny. Does it only have one joint? I guess so.
I mean, we're never shown how it connects with the shoulders. He has a shoulder, and then he has an elbow, and then the foot is just one big long thing.
Oh, he does have an elbow. Yeah, you can, like, see the. It does kind of look. The assumption that I would make is that it connects at the elbow. If I were genetically modifying gentlemen into bug freaks to fight in the smoke war,
if I were genetically modifying little boys,
to fight in the smoke war, I feel like you got to, I feel like you got to go elbow down because the shoulder is such a delicate operation, you know. The elbow is relatively simple and creates a pretty clean break of, like, as long as you keep the bending of the elbow relatively intact, anything you put below the elbow, people can, like, manipulate pretty freely. But messing with the shoulder or messing with, like, above the elbow seems perilous as far as, like, maintaining the mobility of your child soldiers.
I would like to interject that, this is all correct for Gregor, who is supposed to be, like, a model soldier whose enhancement is, like, relatively unobtrusive. But for the general populace of bug men, and bug women, shoutouts to the bug women.
Shoutouts to the bug women.
I don't think it would be nearly that clean. It's like, it has to be effective to make your bugs super soldiers, but it doesn't have to be pretty, nor does it have to ensure their post-war longevity, I think.
Uh-huh. Sometimes they just gotta go fight in the smoke war, and you're not too concerned about what happens after.
The cockroach men that you engineered to fight in the war are being moe underground.
Uh-huh.
Other things about his bug parts, which I think are fun. If you look at some concept art of him, which you can do by going to Gregor/gallery, you can scroll all the way down and look at unused content. Or not unused content, look at concept art. And there's a picture of him with big ol' antennae, which is adorable, for one, and is an example of, like, the implication in a lot of, in, I think, his employee file, but sort of generally writing about him, the implication that when he gets stressed out, he becomes more bug.
Uh-huh.
And we'll look at some of this later, but I do love the idea that he just sprouts little antennae out of his forehead that are real long and real gross. Oh yeah, baby. That's bug.
That's bug, baby. Sorry, I was
That's
like
bug, baby.
I was peeking around the wiki to see what they had around.
Mm-hmm.
It does have little antenna. Incredible. They're not little. They're very large.
They're really large. They're the size of his whole body, but whatever.
Uh-huh.
Details.
Such is life.
Such is life. A lot of the splash art, like, images of the base sinners have, like, a lot of vague detail about their life in the background. They didn't do this quite so much for Gregor, other than the fact that he's surrounded by boogs. But I have to imagine this is really just because his chapter is first. You really don't have to do that much work.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's Bug Guy. You'll learn about him soon. We don't need to foreshadow any fucking thing, because he's already in the video game.
I just looked at Faust's for the first time, and I'm like, huh. Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
We can speak about this later.
We'll speak about this later. Anyway, are we done talking about Default Gregor? I like Gregor.
Let's be done talking about Default Gregor. Let's move right along.
This is a good game. I mean, we didn't really touch on it. I like how the art in this game is drawn.
It's really good.
It's so nice to move from, like, a weirdly big scale, like, does a lot of commissions game like Mahjong Soul, in which every single woman is drawn entirely differently, to, like, a game that is by a studio that has in-house artists.
Yeah.
Who draw the characters. I suspect that Mahjong Soul has in-house artists who make the emotes and the UI elements, and that might literally be it. And it's just nice, and I do really like the Limbus Company art style. It's like, I don't have a lot to say on it. It just looks nice. It looks very, like, greasy and grimy.
Which is what you want, yeah.
Which is what you want, without being too, like... well, still, like, maintaining a pretty good balance between, like, realism and cartoonishness. It's, like, nicely textured, but the textures aren't trying... The textures are still kind of painterly. They're not trying to be too, like, literal. It just gives a strong, like, mostly abstract impression of being kind of a grimy guy.
A couple great things about the Limbus Company art is, one, One, you should look at some of the art from Library of Ruina after this podcast and, like, see how the evolution has been from the in-house artist who did everything in Library of Ruina to the, like, CGs of Limbus Company, because I think it's an interesting progression. I'm pretty sure it's much of the same art team. It's just, like, they've done more stuff now. The other thing is, like, the thing about the Project Moon universe in general is that everybody is wearing a uniform all the time, and basically you just get to draw people in suits and variations of suits, like, all the time. There's, like, no other outfit to be had. And that, personally, is awesome.
And it gets them to the point where... Now we're just talking about the game overall, which is fine, because it's our first episode of season 2.
We can do whatever the fuck we want.
We can do whatever the fuck... It's our fucking podcast. Support us on Ko-Fi. Ivy Fox art on Ko-Fi. Do you want us to do more Limbus Company? Support us on Ko-Fi and let us know. Do you want us to do less Limbus Company? You can't stop us, but support us on Ko-Fi and let us know. The thing about like, the fact that just every single person is wearing a suit, means that, one, they're very good at wearing they're very good at drawing suits,
and wearing
which is nice. I love a suit. And two, it means that they can just, like, get so much character in just out of just really, really subtle differences in how people are wearing their uniform.
Like, base Gregor has his coat slung over his shoulder because it doesn't work with his big old bug arm. And also, one can assume, because putting on this uniform is kind of an arduous task when you only have one really working human arm anyway. So, like, fuck that coat.
Yeah. And also,
there's
like,
lots of subtle uniform differences that please
and also,
me
like,
greatly.
his tie is, like, a little loose. His collar's a little messy. But it is notable that he is just wearing, like, he is still wearing every part of the uniform that he can wear. Like, there are characters, like a Ryoshu. Ryoshu looks like she doesn't want to be wearing any of this. And just kind of, she's, like, managed to debate herself, with the leader of her company into, like, fine, I'll just wear the shirt and I'll keep it as loose as possible. She just wants to fucking experience life, baby. She doesn't want to be restricted by the collar of the man. But, like,
I also think you get a lot of variation you get a lot of expression out of the subtle variation of how people wear their uniforms and how well kept their uniforms are. And also the micro expressions on the sprites in this video game are, like, extremely pleasing. Because that's just what they have to do in order to, like, express what they want to express using the budget and the art which they have. And, like, I don't know. I can be a nerd about it.
Yeah.
For a long time.
And Gregor is, like, it's not perfectly maintained. He's not wearing it perfectly, but he is still wearing every part of it, and it is maintained okay. And it really gives the impression of, like, does he care? I'm not sure, but he knows how to, like, be a soldier who wears a uniform, and he will do it. If only, like, by reflex.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, it's so small, but, like, putting him next to everyone else, I think that is, like, fairly strongly expressed.
Yeah, it's quite good. Speaking of wearing a uniform like a soldier, G-Corp Manager Corporal Gregor.
G-Corp Manager Corporal Gregor.
Manager Corporal? Manager Corporal.
G-Corp
Manager
Corporal Gregor.
Corporal Gregor.
Full.
for sure. Full. So all of the images other than the base image have two versions. They have the uptie 1 and the uptie 3. So we're gonna have to look at both of them.
I forgot that there are way more images than what I said.
Watch out. It'll be okay.
It'll be okay.
In this image, he is
there's a button that says switch art. People at home, not that anyone looks at the art from our brief listener surveys, but people at home, there's a button on the wiki on this page that says switch art.
You can also click into the art, and then the next image easier. Over will be the other piece of art. Spoiler alert, don't look at that one. Look at normal guy.
He's such a normal guy.
He's got his hair cropped a little bit shorter. The implication of this identity, for those who don't know what Limbus Company is, identities are mirror world versions of each of the characters, who are the gacha pulls in this game. So you only have 12 characters, but you can pull out versions of them from alternate universes to fight for you. This is an alternate universe in which Gregor did not defect from the Smoke War Bug Core. TM. And instead was a loyal soldier the whole time. And also, instead of having one bug arm, he has two.
But he's don't saluting. See that in the base image.
You really can't see it in the base image.
I didn't look too close at the second one because you said don't look at that now, and so I obliged. And
watch out.
It is.
He has two bug arms.
It is not apparent.
It's not apparent. His other arm is in shadow, so he almost looks like a normal Gregor, except his hair is less long, and his arm is way... It's, like, slightly more fucked up.
Also, he has fucking nerd glasses. These glasses
he has circular
make him look
glasses.
Like a fucking nerd.
He still has a little bug on his shoulder. He's wearing a much more... I don't know how much this is like a real military uniform. But it's like a black turtleneck and then like a light blue work shirt with the same kind of big black belt that he wears in his Limbus Company uniform. And he's got like a little nameplate on it. Normal things. He's saluting. All the soldiers are outside.
I think it's really interesting in this image that like... I mean, as we'll discover in the second image, like, he is, the texture on his arm looks different here. It looks more like the texture of wood.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit more grain to it, a little bit more sort of grit. But, like, the soldiers next to him are relatively... their bug soldier modifications are relatively simplified compared to his, and also look relatively controlled. They're just like everyone next to him has the same thing, which is just kind of like a bug leg scythe emerging from the elbow, but not replacing the forearm, just like going out parallel to the forearm, kind of like a fantasy video game, like, arm blade thing.
Yeah.
But they still, like, maintain both of their human hands. And they still, like, mostly look just like people. Like, it's not even immediately... If you didn't know Gregor and weren't looking at Gregor, it wouldn't even be immediately apparent that these were things that were growing out of them. And I think that's interesting.
It certainly speaks to, like, the story implication of this, which is, like, you know, in the heyday of G-Corp and the Smoke War Bug Core, the propaganda was all kind of to be proud of your modifications and all of these things. And so everyone here looks really normal, kind of in service of that. Like, oh yeah, we're just soldiers with weapons, and our weapons are a little different, but they're the state of the art, and we're proud of them. As opposed to, like, in the story of Chapter 1, all of the bug people that you meet who are kind of out of control and have grisly modifications on every part of their body, and they're feeding on human flesh and that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
This is a very controlled... This could be a propaganda poster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it does really read that way, in that, like, it presents this kind of, like, glorified, like, hyper-violent ideal in Gregor's modification of, like, what if your whole arm was a scythe? But, like, there's also the sense of, like, don't worry, normal people do this too. You can do this and still be normal. But, like,
I'm doing my part.
Here's the extent of our might and our capacity in Gregor, and then surrounding him are normal people who do normal things, and you can be one of them.
You can join the military and be a dentist.
You can join the military. Imagine how useful a big bug scythe is for dentistry. You know? You just don't need one of those little files. You just got it.
I assume that we live in two different countries. I just realized that I was referencing very American military recruiting things. Do you have as aggressive of military recruitment in Canada?
We have military recruitment. Let me tell you, Ash, most places in the world do not have as aggressive military recruitment as the United States.
I kind of assumed as much.
In every other part of the world, it's surprising that you don't know this. In every other part of the world, people talk a lot about how intense American military recruiting and also just sense. Like culture is.
Well, in Korea, military service is compulsory for a cultural, comparison here for this Korean video game. But yeah, this does read a lot like, I was saying you can be a dentist in the military because that's the kind of tactic that they will use to get people to join the military to pay for their education. It's like, you don't have to be a soldier. You can just do your job, but work for the military. That's the kind of propaganda poster that this is.
We also have that, and we also have, like, military pays for your college stuff. I do, whenever I look at ads, which is not very often because I understand how to use the internet, I do get the occasional Canadian military ad. Occasionally they're, like, on the subway or something. They tend to be very, I don't know how to... I'm just going to say the first thing that popped into my head, which is search and rescue pilled. In that, like, a lot of military propaganda in Canada is not about defending your country or defending freedom, because we don't really start wars. It's all of the propaganda is about, like, saving and supporting civilians.
This is not what our propaganda is like at all.
Now that I'm thinking about it. It's all like, it's all like saving families and, like, helicoptering in to, like, take fucking wounded out of... It's Canada loves to be the good guys in a real, like, humanitarian coded way.
We don't have any of that at all. It's like really intense military propaganda, but none of it is humanitarian. Anyway, speaking of military propaganda, the second image.
Hang on,
She's typing.
I'm just gonna Google Korean military, or I'm gonna go on YouTube South Korean military recruitment ad. Is there any of these that are like a minute? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
South Korean military recruitment ad 2020. I'll put this in the show notes. Let's just watch this together.
Okay.
That's not the right copy paste. No, I didn't want to paste this sinner is relatively easy to handle into the YouTube search bar. Here we go. I'm just gonna put this in the show notes. Let me tell you when you have it pulled up, and we'll start it in 3, 2, 1.
Okay. I have it pulled up.
3, 2, 1. Huh.
Looking very American thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah, super American.
Yeah, incredibly American. Is this what American...
Super American, but with occasional references to the Korean War.
Uh-huh. Yeah, our nation's boundaries. We give back to the world by contributing to world peace. See, Canadian military recruitment ads are all we give back to the world via peace. That's basically all they are.
So answer to is this like a military uniform at all? That kind of turtleneck underneath a work shirt thing is present.
It's not like a it's not an in the field military uniform. It's a like on the base military uniform.
Yeah, but it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, war is bad. Welcome to G Corp manager Gregor full uptide.
Don't worry about what full uptide is. Technically this isn't even full uptide. This is level 3 uptide. Oh god, what have you done to me?
Welcome to my special hell.
I mean, this is also... first thing I really like... Okay, notable in the first image, really quickly, because it's relevant to the second image. In the first image, he doesn't have a cigarette. Maybe his only image where he doesn't have a cigarette?
Possibly.
In this one...
There's one image where he's asking for a cigarette, which is funny.
That counts. In this one, he has a cigarette in his mouth, and it's completely smoked out. Like, it's smoked to the nub. My eyes were immediately drawn there. I don't know why.
Do you like his little weird mandibles poking out from his cheek?
I do like his little weird mandibles poking out from his cheek. Also, like, we get to see his shoulder, because he's, like, ripping through his... Oh, no, that's his wings. Bitch, those are his hooves.
Bitch, those are his hooves.
Bitch, those are his wings.
There's a really good edit of that meme with Dante that says, bitch, those are their hooves, and I like it a lot for normal reasons.
Uh-huh.
Unrelated. He's covered in blood. He's got big old jittery bug wings. I think it's, if I were to do the structure of this episode in a more structured way, I would figure out a way to show you all of the, like, animated sprites of these guys. Because the idle, like, I need you to understand that the sprites for all of your units are based on their Uptie 3 art, not on their basic art. You can see them at the
bottom of this page.
Yeah, but they're not animated. The important thing about the animation is that those wings are jittering constantly.
Uh-huh.
They're, like, twitching. It's awesome. I really like it. But yeah, you can see the general gist of it, which is that he's sad.
He's sad. He's more buggy. He's got these mandibles. He's got big wings. He's on a battlefield. He's just ripping a guy apart with his big bug scythes. Shoutouts. Good for him.
Shoutouts. Good for him.
Honestly, get that bag.
Honestly, get that bag. His little bug friend is, like, behind him, with wings in flight.
Yeah, freaking out a little bit.
It's awesome. No glasses. One of his eyes is bandaged over. Generally covered in blood and sad. All of his, like, text for this uptie is like, man, I used to think that this was sort of a good thing to do.
War is good, actually.
War is good. Oh no.
Shout out to the military.
Shout out to the military. It's very straightforward. This is one of the most appealing pieces of Gregor art. I've spoken to you before about the fact that there's, like, not a lot of appealing Gregor art, in my opinion. And this one is really good. This is his, token, like, every sinner that has, had a story chapter so far, except for Roger, really, but every sinner who's had a story chapter so far has, like, one identity that's related directly to their role in their chapter, and this is his one, and thus it is the most representative of him, of any of these identities. And it's real fucked up, and I like to look at it, because this is the only identity that he has, where he remains a bug.
I got distracted thinking about mechanics and looking at his passive skills and being like, wow, those look really good, actually.
They are really good. I can't escape him. Every time I pull a 000, which is the high rarity ones.
Oh my god, and his defense skill gives you green? Damn.
It's good. Every time I pull a high rarity, it's always him. I have gotten 6 copies of him. It's fucking obscene. He's inescapable. His passive, his support passive, Gene Code G3, is a direct reference to base Gregor's support passive, which is Gene Code G0, and it's just an upgraded version of that. It's generally good to have one of these, or another Gregor identity which heals you as a support passive in your support. This isn't a podcast about game mechanics, but
absolutely not. Next season of Soulmates, we're gonna go through we're gonna spend one episode on each Yaku in Mahjong. Really just analyze it.
The other thing is that his active, his combat passive, which I was about to call his active passive, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
I'm laughing because you just went back to start talking about mechanics after you just said you weren't going to, but you finished up.
It's important! His combat passive is called Emergency Rations and heals him whenever he wins a clash, because he eats people. That's the whole bit.
Oh. This art does the thing that I really, really like that the art in this game does. I think the art direction in this game is good. It's so weird talking about a game with good art. You're right, we can't do too much of this. It would be overwhelming. But it's a good demonstration of a thing that this game does well, which is having really, really stark contrast between the between the main portrayed character and any and all background and foreground elements. In a way that not every piece of art in this game does this, but it often does, in a way that really puts you in their head, in that he's super detailed and has texture and color and so on and so forth, and then everything around him is just kind of monocolor shapes. You can make out the shapes of people. Mostly, you can't tell exactly whose side they're on or what they're doing. There's just kind of streaks of blood falling from the heavens. And it just does a really good job of putting you in his head and making you think about, like, you know, making you really focus on his face, the only thing in this image that is, like, really lit in any way, and being like, oh, he's just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
Everything is just a blur, and it just, like, does a really good, it's simple, but it does a really good job of, like, strongly conveying that.
They do a good job at these kind of combat scenes, because basically all Uptie 3s are these combat scenes. And so they know just how to, like, make a really chaotic battlefield look and give you a lot of character within it. Make them do a cool action, give them an expression, put them in the context in a way that differentiates them from other pieces of art in this video game. It's good. Next up is Liu Association South Section 6 Gregor.
Oh my god, right, I have to navigate this fucking wiki.
Sorry for your loss.
I know what's going on. Okay, just bring me the identities page so I can see the names of things. The Association South Section 6 Gregor. God, the fucking names of things in
They're
this
so
game.
long.
They're so long. Why can't we just have normal names, like Dripping Glamour Gregor?
I would draw that. If you pay me $50...
Ash, you're taking commissions right now.
If you pay me $50, I will draw Dripping Glamour Gregor. I'll draw Dripping Glamour anybody for you.
This is a dangerous game you're playing. $50 is not a lot of money for a softcore smut. We're both artists. I'm gonna tell you this straight up. Wait, is it $50 only for a character from Limbus Company?
I don't know. That was a number I pulled out of my ass because I'm not thinking about anything right now.
Okay, we'll talk about this later.
We'll discuss it. So the Liu Association is an association of fixtures. Yep, I said that one perfectly the first time. An association of fixture. And the only thing you need to know about them is that they fight using fire. Everybody except for G-Corp Gregor and Base Gregor, instead of having a bug arm, will have some kind of prosthetic arm. So that will be an important and fun thing to look at and talk about in each of these. In this one, his prosthetic arm looks very made of wood.
Yes, I think it is made of wood. I think that's because it's made of wood. Which is funny if he fights with fire. That's the joke.
That is the joke. He looks very disgruntled. And his bug friend is on his knee.
I can't tell if the bug friend is on the knee or is just kind of jumping through the frame.
That would be a little bit funny.
They look very in motion, and they don't look on the same plane as the knee exactly. It might just be a weird thing. I think
I'm right and you're wrong, but it could be either way.
But you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah.
He has cigarettes, he's been smoking, he's been drinking. It's very funny because, like, he's not being the person who knows about every single character in this video game and every identity in it. This is not an identity where he's, like, particularly sad. He's just kind of a hard ass. And so, like, that's what is being portrayed here, really. But, like, he looks very sad, as opposed to everybody else in this, like, set of identities, who is usually, like, eating some dumplings or something.
He looks very mad that he has a wooden hand. He's very, like... He's, like, staring down at his hand and, like, clutching it. You can see his veins popping on his flesh hand. And he's like, this damn thing.
I don't know why. I guess maybe it's maybe because it's made of wood.
Yeah, and he fights with fire, and he's like...
But I think it's also implied that he has,
through.
like, an ignition device in the prosthetic arm. It's not actually a problem.
You're very correct that, like, lots of Gregor art doesn't hold a ton of appeal.
No,
I think he's neither cute
off.
nor appealing in this image.
I really just don't like this one as much as basically any other piece of art in this video game. It's not because it's, like, bad. There's no bad art in Limbus Company, and I can say that boldly and truly with my whole chest. It's just, like, they're capable of drawing all of these characters as, like, if not attractive, they can draw them all attractive, but if not attractive, at least appealing. And this is just a guy.
I'm just so much less interested in him when he's not a bug. You're telling me I have to look at so many more images where he's not a bug?
I'm really sorry that you will have to.
I just, like, what's the point of men if they're not part bug?
Looking at the Uptie 3 image here, I do want to say, all of them have a little story when you uptie them to level 3, which describes some stuff about their identity in the mirror world. And the majority of Leo Gregor's story is that he gets mad that some people call him short and then beats them up. So this is the aftermath of him beating some people up for calling him short.
And then lights their bar on fire?
Uh-huh.
Huh. Well...
This is a better image, but, like, I want you to look at the proportions of his face in the first image as opposed to this one, which I know they're from two different angles. It's just that they look like two different people a little bit, because his face is really foreshortened in this one.
Yeah, they give him, like, a really different... I mean, it's from a different angle, but also his jawline does look different. As does his... Yeah.
I will say his charm point in this identity is that he ties his hair back with a red ribbon. You can see it in a bunch of his combat sprites, and it is extremely cute to me. He has just a normal hairband in his, like, regular art, but this one they gave him a little ribbon. But he does still look, like, pissed off in all of it, which, why are you so mad? I don't understand.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I feel about Leo Gregor.
Yeah. I like that his vest has some fun patterns on it, and I like how the fire is accenting it and illuminating it. I think that's nice to look at.
That is the Leo uniform, baby.
That's all of my thoughts on this image. I think it's a totally acceptable image.
Well, we have to move along pretty quickly, so this is good.
Great.
What's the next one that I had?
You were scared that this would take forever, and we're actually moving at quite a clip.
Yeah. Next up is RB Sous Chef Gregor. I want to preface this one by saying that I think both of the images in this one are quite good, but the second one is much better than the first one. So, bear with me.
As it should be.
As it should be, you did pay many materials to unlock his better image.
You did pay much thread.
Mm-hmm. Have you navigated to it?
I have navigated to it. I'm there. I'm with you.
Great. He's wearing a butcher's apron and butcher's gloves over, like, a nice fancy double-breasted chef's coat. He's got a blood spatter on his face. He's smoking a cigarette, and he has grabbed a guy by the neck and is about to chop his neck with an in fiction extremely blunt cleaver. I like him a lot in this one. He's got a much more, like, his expression is disinterested, but it's also, like, not upset, which helps.
Yeah, it, like, in a lot of ways, it's very funny how, just in terms of, like, framing and composition, how similar it is to his full bond G Corp one. He just, like, doesn't, this doesn't matter. He's doing a thing and it doesn't matter to him.
Yeah.
And
this is his job.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter to the camera. It's almost difficult to look at this guy because he's just kind of like Giovanni from the Game Boy original Pokemon. Like, he just has no details to him, so there's nothing to look at. And so the only thing you can really look at in this image is Gregor's just, like, passive, disinterested face. And nothing else matters.
His bug friend, I would like to say for consistency's sake, is on the table beside him.
Yeah, just hanging out.
It's cute. He's also got a really clunky prosthetic arm in this one. The implication... This identity is a set of two, and they are direct references to two characters from Library of Ruina, in fact, Pierre and Jack. This is Jack. And they run a meat pie shop made with human flesh, Sweeney Todd style. They love cannibalism, and they think it is the highest form of art.
And they're right.
I love his clunky prosthetic arm, and I think a detail that you should know about it is that when... This identity in combat is garbage, I won't elaborate, but whenever he attacks, you can hear the arm, like, clank. It's very shoddy, and there's something really appealing about that to me, in the context of the implication, which is that he cut his arm off and ate it. And then replaced it with, like, this shitty prosthetic arm that then wields an incredibly blunt cleaver that does a bad job. He also wants to kill his boss and, like, replace her. So, those are the things you should know about him. This is a good piece of art. I really like it. But the next one is even better.
Alright, let's look at that. Oh, they do, like, a pretty... This is a difficult thing to render. But I feel like they do genuinely a pretty good job at making this meat cleaver look blunt. It is, like, almost squared off at the end.
Yeah.
Which is very funny.
Yeah. It is not effective. The lighting in this image kicks so much ass.
I don't understand it.
It's dramatic and not realistic at all.
He does look like he's being... It makes him look like an angel. He's being lit by, like, heavenly light from an unclear source. Just, like, heavenly soft white light. I like that he looks really annoyed.
Yeah. It's still good. Again, his uptie story is very, like, man, my boss is always telling me to sharpen this cleaver, and that I suck at everything, and, you know, I really wish I could just kill her. And man, this guy's really annoying me, so I'm gonna kill him and make him into some meat. Like, that's all that he's up to. Is he's sort of annoyed and taking it out on people by cannibalizing them.
Yeah, happens to the best of us.
Happens to the best of us. I really like his one glasses lens that's just all red.
I was about to say, it, like... He has a glasses lens that is just covered in blood splatter. And he just, like, doesn't care.
He doesn't give a shit. The bug in this image, I had a hard time locating it. I think literally when I was on call with you describing the fact that there's a bug in every single one of his images, it is on the far left, slightly lit by the haze.
Yeah.
But it's there.
I see it. It's there.
This is a really good...
This cleaver is so pleasing to look at. The way they've drawn, like, the way that this artist understands how metal knives work, which is that they have those kind of, like, friction-reducing vertical grooves, and then, like, shows the blood kind of, like, splattering across it, but being, like, pulled into those friction grooves and up it, just, like, looks so so...
The title of this episode will be Looks So Knife.
Looks so knife. I mean, I'm not wrong.
You aren't.
But it looks so knife, and it just, like, what's the term you used before? It looks really plastic, or...
Oh, yeah. Plastic. You could reach out and touch it.
I could reach out and touch this cleaver, and it would feel kind of gross, but, like, also great. This also, like, in a way that the second Gregor, not the second, oh my god, in the way that Wooden Arm Gregor didn't really to me, this identity and this image specifically, conveys a thing about Gregor that I clearly like and clearly, like, think is pretty integral to him. In that, like, the appeal of Gregor is not necessarily that he has a prosthetic arm, but that he, like, deals in complex physical textures and sensations. If that makes sense.
It does. It makes sense because you have read what I have written about this man and his physical textures and sensations.
But, like, specifically, you know, like, I think that is I mean, we still have many pieces of Gregor art to go, but, like, that's the thing that sticks out to me or doesn't stick out to me about any particular Gregor art, is, like, whether or not we are engaging in, like, the physical sensation of, like, putting our hands on gross stuff. And that's just kind of the Gregor way.
It is. Attributes
and that's why
repulsive.
Yeah, attributes repulsive. And that's why default G-Corp is interesting, because there's still that textural element there, but it's so cleaned up. And that's why the fucking Wooden Arm one just kind of isn't to me, because there just isn't really that.
Yeah. But this
but this is fantastic. Just like looking at the knife and him looking at the knife, and the knife being so, like, intimately textured, is just it really does it for me.
Yeah.
Shout out
I have
to
a fun
texture.
fact. Shout out to texture. We love texture. We're freaks and furries and love texture.
God, I'm so happy to be looking at a game where the art has texture.
You're gonna make it sound like we hate doing this podcast.
I don't hate doing this podcast.
Think about Fuji. Think about Fuji. Think about Fuji. I have a fun fact about this identity.
Sharon? Wait.
Sharon.
Sharon. Fuck.
Thank you, Sharon.
I don't know why I messed this up. Thank you, Sharon. Anyway, sorry. You have a fun fact about Gregor.
Yeah. This identity is taller than the rest of them.
Uh-huh.
I am 90% sure this is to emulate Jack from Library of Ruina, the character that this is. It is really fucking funny to be like the height differences between these sprites. Generic Gregor is, or Liu, like wooden arm Gregor, is slightly shorter than base Gregor, but sous chef Gregor is like significantly taller than any of the rest of them. Why? There's no real explanation. Thought you should know. I think about it. I think it's funny.
Uh-huh.
What's the next one? Rose Spanner Workshop Fixer Gregor.
Great. Let me mouse over the things to get the alt text to... Okay, here we go.
These images are also pretty good.
Rose Spanner Workshop Fixer Gregor. Full.
Prosthetic arm on this one is a little grabber.
He drink a little cup of coffee.
He smoke an obscene amount of cigarettes. He's wearing a thick turtleneck, and he is outside on the balcony, not working at his job.
This image, his arm in this one, is very funny, because it makes me think of the classic and somewhat complicated fucking like comedy pirate bit in which a pirate who has a hook hand has actually a bunch of different kinds of hands for hyper specific tasks. You know, they have like a toothbrush hand and so on and so forth.
I found the bug in this image. Sorry, it's peeking out of his prosthetic.
Oh shit. Oh, that whips.
It's really cute.
And I like to look at this image and think that this is his coffee cup prosthetic. It fits it so perfectly and so snugly and looks so useless for everything else.
You are intuiting this extremely correctly.
Am I? That's very funny.
This is not literally his coffee cup attachment, but the whole bit with his prosthetic arm in this identity is that he works at a weapons workshop, and he prototypes and tests out new weapons for this weapons workshop by making arm attachments of them, and so he has a hot swappable arm. And you can see in his next image, which we won't move properly onto yet because there's still more to say about this one, that he's hot swapped his arm out for a chainsaw. That's the bit.
Less convenient for drinking coffee in my experience.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Unfortunately.
I also just really like the way that, like, the joints of this one are rendered. It's like, is this... I can imagine kind of the way that this arm works. I imagine that, like, in order to bend, like, a joint here, this kind of, like... It's got two parts to it, and one of them looks significantly shorter than the other in a way that doesn't actually work like an arm. I imagine that it's, like, pushing into its casing here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my impression from this... My impression of this is that, like, the outer thing is kind of like the bone in that it is rigid and relatively static. And then the little inner arm is kind of like a muscle in that it, like, expands and contracts.
Yeah, and it's got that little moving bit, like, along the bone on the forearm as well. I call both parts of the arm the forearm. Fuck this.
You know what this arm reminds me of a lot? Do you know, this is ancient and relatively obscure, but do you know the point-and-click indie adventure game Machinarium?
No.
I'm just gonna, like, send you some screenshots of this game.
Okay.
Every single thing in this game looks exactly like this arm.
Okay.
Is that true? Maybe I'm making it up. But it's just like, it's a game about like a little robot town that you move through.
Mm-hmm.
In which lots of things have this kind of, it's got this very kind of like grimy sort of tubes and pipes kind of aesthetic to it. In a way that really reminds me of this. Anyway, the tiny thing.
Yeah. Just like a tiny bug.
Just like
Second
a tiny
image.
bug. Wait, hang on. I'm not done.
Okay.
I'm
clicking back.
As far as like and like on the note of like thinking about how this arm works, this arm to me also rates relatively high, probably higher than either of the previous arms, on the like textural experience of having a weird body.
Yeah.
Simply because I think if the arm was just like a single rod that bent, it would be super boring. But like the fact that it has this second hydraulic arm with these weird ball, or this second hydraulic like bone with these weird like ball joints and stuff, really does like make you think. It makes you I think the image I don't think the image has an answer necessarily, but I think the image wants you to think about how does this arm move. And it wants you to think about that because it wants you to look at it and realize that it is like an arm made of multiple bones, much like our own arm, and think about how it might move weirdly like an organic arm because of this. The way it might move via like contraction and expansion, much like our own arms, and it gives it a weirdly unsettling feeling in that way, you know? Where it's not just like a robot thing that has a normal robot joint. It's a robot arm that is kind of almost built like an organic arm, and this makes it good.
It's also, I think, the last two arms having fully rendered and functional, not strictly visible for sous chef Gregor because he has gloves on all the time, but for Liu at least, and both of them it's implied, just hands. They just have hands. This one is a coffee cup grabber.
It
pleases me.
Again, I cannot stop looking at this elbow and feeling like physically unsettled by it, which is what I want. Because I'm like,
baby.
Okay, say that it moves via the inner rod expanding and contracting. There's not a lot of room. Like, if this is it contracted, does that mean that rod goes like all the way up into his shoulder?
Yeah,
and then you start to
baby.
think about like, how does this attach to his shoulder? Is there like extra room cut out of his flesh to make room for his weird arm expansion, like hydraulics?
Well, in a like way that connects to the original identity, it brings you back to the question of how much of Gregor's bug arm is bug and how much of it is guy. Because the implication in all of these with him having a prosthetic arm is that maybe he had a bug arm at some point and then changed careers.
Yeah, because like the bulk of the machine at the top of the thing like peters out to like a normal looking shoulder, but that doesn't make any sense the more you look at it. And how does it connect? How do the more you look at it, the more you think about metal going into flesh.
Yeah, baby.
And I think that's great. Okay, we can move on.
Yeah, we can move on. This is like the, I was always really enamored with the Full Metal Alchemist automail, which is maybe not a reference that you connect to. But
I've
just
seen
like
a little bit of Full Metal Alchemist.
It's the, prosthetics that they have in that universe that connect to your nerves and shit.
Right.
And it was they're done better in the manga, for the record, in terms of, like, you know, this is my soapbox, bringing it up in the middle of this goddamn podcast. For the record.
For the record,
but they do a good job of, like, depicting them as sort of physically extremely heavy. Like, you have a ton of metal welded to where your normal flesh arm would be. So extremely heavy and strenuous and, like, painful in some ways to wear in a way that a normal prosthetic is not. And I think that's interesting. And so that's what this arm makes me think about. It turns into a chainsaw also.
This motherfucker has tremor and rupture? Anyway.
Yeah, he's a bad unit because he can't decide which one he wants to be.
Oh, okay.
Don't be fooled.
Noted. Don't be fooled. In this next image, I think they immediately take away all of the things that I just said that I liked about the previous image's arm. This to me is just so much a sort of standard robot arm that is so clear in the way that it works that I'm just kind of like, yawn. He's got a chainsaw
fair.
Arm.
I think it's drawn very nicely. I think he's posed very nicely.
It looks nice. I think it's a fun image.
I like the dynamic nature of it, where it's literally like bursting through a door, leaving people in your wake, and the exit sign is glowing. Like, it's very pleasing in that way.
It's got some really nice, like, edge lighting, sort of like lit in two different colors in two different directions.
The chain on the chainsaw is rendered nicely.
It gives like a strong. The bug is right there.
You can see it.
It's right there. You know, it's got some sort of like. I don't know what this guy's fucking story is. But it's got some, especially like, yeah, okay, this works. Going from the first image, to the second image. In the first image, he's lit by this kind of like white light that is implied by his cup of coffee and sort of like the civilian sitting across from him to be just like the light of like a cafe or a bar. You know, he's in society. He's living his life around like normal people. And then in this one, he's like emerging from the white light and like traveling through violence to the red light. And it's got some, you know, it does visual storytelling both within the image and between the images of like, you know, forsaking humanity for violence, blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. Who the fuck cares?
You know how art works.
I do. I also like his little face mask in this one. He's mimicking some enemies from Chapter 4 that you fight. So this is just the outfit of those enemies. It's pretty generic. You should look at the sprites down at the bottom of this page, and tell me how you feel about the arm in these.
Better. I feel better about the arm.
Is it because it's fucking enormous?
Yeah, it's much bigger than it looks in the
He's
art.
Like leaning on it half the time, and so that's like pleasing to me.
Yeah, it's almost like a weird cane.
Because that chainsaw is big and fuck off.
Yeah. This sprite does a much better job of like. It's so funny that in the sprite you can. In the sprite, it really looks like he's just wearing a tracksuit, which is funny. That's not what it is, but it looks like that, and it's funny. Yeah, in the sprite, it gives off the impression of having like a big, heavy thing, which I like. I enjoy.
Next one. This is Y Association, or ZVI, my bad. This is ZVI Association South Section 4, Gregor.
Hang on, let me find it. Here we go. He's chillin'.
All the ZVI Association, like, Uptie 1 images are really, really funny, because it's just like they're in normal clothes for the first time ever. The only time that anyone is in normal clothes, like streetwear, in any of these identities is in those Vi images. Gregor doesn't get that. He's in an extremely weird, ill-fitting suit. This is a visual representation of a running gag in the story, which is that Gregor is a very bad actor, and he keeps putting himself in situations. So this is, like, the Zwei Association is a personal protection, like, bodyguard association of fixers. / they're tailing people in, the city to... It's a bodyguard association. And so this is him coming up to, like, either his client or people who were threatening his client, it's unclear, and asking them very awkwardly, you can see the little sweat drop on his face, for, like, a light for his cigarette, because his lighter isn't working. I really like this one. He's so... This is a loser image. I like it quite a bit. He's like, hey, you guys, I'm about to fuck you up real bad, but, like, first, let me pretend that I need a lighter.
Where... Bug?
Good question. I'm sure he's there. He's never been absent before. I'm gonna really look at this image while we talk about it in order to locate Bug. Found him inside the sleeve.
Yo!
He blends in so well with the
He
suit.
does. Yeah. This is a funny suit. He looks like a professor. It's very funny.
It's just, the suit itself is so baggy. Like, and it's got such enormous shoulders. You can't actually see his prosthetic arm in this one. The only indication of it is that he's wearing a glove on one hand. The weird patterning inside the suit and then his fucking striped tie is killing me a little bit. It's great.
This is like, it's not. This is like, maybe it is. This is like the first green we've ever seen on a Gregor image.
Other than the exit sign in the last one, but yes.
Oh, that's true.
Meaningful. This is, all those Vi ones, like, because they're in a streetwear setting where they look normal, they also exist in this, like, extremely idyllic, fucking pleasant town.
Yeah.
It's very odd.
I'm not sure I have much to say about this image.
You don't have to.
I think it's
I quite
cute.
like it. It's really cute and funny. Next one is the one where you can actually see his prosthetic arm. This is the direct aftermath, which I think is a little funny.
Hey,
the reason...
listen. Hey, I'd like to point out.
Okay.
He did get a light.
He did get a light!
It worked!
It worked! Guys.
It worked!
I do like the implication, because this is the direct aftermath, that his suit in the last one is so baggy because he's wearing his whole ass uniform under it. The Bug in this one is in the bottom left, like, beside him, flying off.
The bottom left beside him flying off. Oh, there it is.
Bug spotted.
Bug spotted.
This one's also pretty boring.
Yeah. He's just kind of a cop in this one. Don't know what to tell you. He's just fighting a guy.
His glasses have become normal glasses when they were sunglasses before, and I really like the implication that they're those transitional glasses that fucking turn from one to the other. I do want to point out, just because I personally think it's funny, that all of the members of the Zwei Association, well, not all of them, some of them use, like, an electric baton, but several members of the Zwei Association wield a Zweihander. That's the sword that he has.
I think that this is a perfectly sensible action shot. I think that my main problem with it, even with the little sprites, is that it makes Gregor look too cool.
It's true.
And
Especially
I'm not
after
sure
that first
he should
image.
be allowed to do that.
Yeah. He looks really cool and normal. I do really like his hurt sprite where his cigarette has come out of his mouth.
Oh, that's cute.
But yeah, it's super normal.
I think
my core thing about this is that you can imagine any other character replacing Gregor in this second image, and it's the same image.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there are some characters in this game who are allowed to look cool while still fulfilling the central feminist conceit of the game. Which is that everyone's a garbage loser baby. And I'm not sure if Gregor's one of those.
No,
I'm not
he
sure
isn't
if Gregor
allowed.
I don't think he's allowed.
He's only allowed to be cool if he's also goofy.
And he's only like a little bit goofy here. You could replace him with anyone in this image, and it would be fine.
The first image is good, the second image is meh. Speaking of cool and a little goofy, Twin Hook Pirates first mate Gregor.
Wait.
Okay. Sorry.
We never talked this out. I think I need to take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
See you soon. Wait, are there voice lines on this wiki? Can I get voice
They're
lines
not on the
anywhere
wiki.
on the internet?
Yes, there are actually.
Oh, sick. Okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna go stretch and eat some food for 5 minutes. Be right back.
Okay.
자르고 잘라내도 계속 생겨나더라고. 응? 이 팔 말이야. 다리라고 해야 되나? 지금은 가족 같은 사이가 됐지. 싫으나 좋으나 함께하기를 받아들여야 했다는 뜻이야.
I love this. I love this comment. On the Gregor that we were just looking at. Which says, bro really changed his arm.
Yeah. This is a new observation.
Like, that's the character.
Yeah.
I don't know how to tell you this.
I like the one that says, "Does bro's sunglasses necessary?"
Well,
just because I like the grammar of it. Like, I don't know, does bro's?
Does bro's sunglasses necessary? Great question.
Many people are asking this.
Philosopher of our time. Can we just start immediately so I can keep all of that in the podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Who's
Twin
next?
Hook Pirates first mate
Twin Hook
Gregor.
Pirates first rank Gregor.
They finally did the bit.
They finally did the bit.
They replaced his arm with a pirate hook arm.
It's real big.
It's real big. The bug in this image is peeking out from underneath his lapel.
Oh, it's so cute.
It's really cute. This image overall is extremely good. Gregor is the only Twin Hook Pirates identity, which is, yeah, I guess. He's replacing in this. This is a identity from chapter 5. The first part of chapter 5, for reasons I'm not completely clear on even now, is Peter Pan. The Twin Hook Pirates are Peter Pan. This is this character that Gregor is emulating from the story here is First Mate Smee, who in the story is a woman. Diversity win. In the identity, it's a man because they did have to do Gregor. But that's part of why I think the costuming on this one is so good. It's like real goofy. Look at that stupid fucking collar.
I was about to say. It looks so... It's so unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
It looks so uncomfortable. It's the most Mahjong Soul outfit we've seen so far.
It really is. There's a lot of elements to it. Shoutouts especially to the blunderbuss, which is beside him on this couch.
Just chilling.
And
also,
the second belt. He's wearing a belt. I don't know why this one is here.
I like to think that, I was gonna say the blunderbuss is attached to the belt. That doesn't make any sense.
No. Oh my god.
It's not sheathed
oh my god.
Or anything.
I need you to scroll down to his actual battle sprites.
Okay.
He did take one of his 2 belts off. He has 2 belts.
Oh, yeah. He just has 2 belts. Well, it's the end of a long day. You're chilling. You take a load off. Take one of your belts off.
Take one of your belts off.
Take one of your belts off. You deserve it. You've been working hard.
Every part of this image is, super faithful to the conceit of this character. I like the stitching on his long weird glove. And the stitching on his literal Peter Pan collar. It's very costumey.
I love that for this one. And it makes me almost kind of sad that they don't do it anywhere else. But also because this is his most recent one, I'm like, maybe they'll do it more in the future.
This is actually his second most recent one. Correction, but...
Oh. Well, anyway.
Sorry. They call me the truth statue. My bad.
I like that they maintain a little bit of bugginess in his arm. There's these weird, rigid fucking... I guess here they're tubes of metal... or whatever, ? That just, are his, sort of chitinous sort of, upper arm plating from his default skin. But they've been, recontextualized. And the hook is, a little bit too insectile.
Yeah, the hook
comfort.
is mimicking the shape of, his actual arm sprite in one of his base attacks. It curls into a hook like this.
But not just the shape. Not just the overall shape. You can see it has
ridges.
The little ridges and imperfections and the way it's sharp in places where you wouldn't really want it to be sharp.
You can really see it in the 2 little nubs on the inside of the hook that are just like the fucking nubs on his arm, foot, leg.
It looks a little bit too organic. But if you just glance at the image, you're like, oh, he's a pirate and he has a hook. It really again, maybe this is just me being a freak, but it does sort of and there's an organic way to the way that it feels like there's a metal hook growing out of the stump of his arm.
Yeah, his hollow arm.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I really like it.
It looks buggy, but it also kind of looks like a tree. It looks like he's grown this piece of metal.
I also just like his expression in this image.
Yeah,
he's taking a load off. He's taking one of his 2 belts off. He's having a smoke.
As you do. This is what I do every day. I get home, take one of my 2 belts off, sit down on the couch, have a smoke, hide a bug under my lapel.
Second image?
Second image.
The bug is on his hook arm.
I see it.
By the emblem. Bug located.
I think the lighting in this is really pretty. Wow, the way the light goes across his shoulder is really pretty, actually.
I love the gleam on the hook, and then like the smoke of the cigarette, and then like there's a whole thing going on. It's appealing in its lighting in exactly the same way as sous chef Gregor's lighting is appealing.
It's really funny how the gleam of the hook appears to be illuminating some of the smoke, even though that makes no fucking sense. It's very funny. I like this one because, and this is where we have to, he has both his belts on. That's how you know he means business.
That's how you know he means business.
You mentioned that the sprites are only the full uptie ones, the full Bond outfits. That's the main difference between these two. I guess he's wearing the hat.
He's also wearing the hat.
It's mostly just that he's got his second belt on.
That's how you know he's ready to go.
That's how you know he's ready to pop. This is where I start thinking about authorial intent. Because I wonder if the intention for this image is for Gregor to look cool.
Now, I was gonna say, like, you said he's not allowed to look cool.
He looks like a fucking loser.
Well, he's a pirate from Peter Pan. And I think that's the reason why he's allowed to do an extremely cool pose.
The thing is that, like, I think that, and I mean this in a positive way, I think that he just doesn't look that cool. Like, his shoulder looks really extended in a really unnecessary way.
He doesn't look like, relaxed.
If you
like
look
his
at
body language.
If you look at his face for more than a second, you can see that he looks really tired.
He does in all of his identities,
like,
which I think is consistently
bags
funny.
Under his eyes. And he looks like he's trying to look cool. Which I think is very funny.
Gregor
he looks like
is a bad actor.
Doing a pose. Yeah. He doesn't look posed by the artist. He looks like he's doing a cool pose.
Yeah.
For no reason except to try really hard to look cool.
Yeah.
And I don't think it looks cool, and that's why I like it.
It's also just like, you have to look at this in the context of literally every other identity in the game. There is maybe one other identity which matches this outfit in terms of, like, goofy, fucking...
Yeah, also that he's dressed like a stupid fucking pirate.
It's only the new Heathcliff looks as goofy as this. Are you looking at the new Heathcliff?
No. Should I?
Okay.
I can look at the new Heathcliff.
You can. I was just wondering what you were looking at.
I'm just looking at images. That's what we do here.
We do that here.
Just observing. I think it's funny. I think it's a very funny image.
It is. I'm always like, I wish that, I'm looking at his battle sprites. I wish that any of Gregor's identities had, like, any kind of smile on their face ever when they're fighting. It always makes me sad to, like, scroll down to the battle sprites and they have no personality. But I do like the evade sprite where he holds up his gun and his hook and does a little prance. He's like, ha ha! And then the rest of the time he's like, man, fuck this.
I will say there's weird arm implications here. In that, are there, or is this just like...
It's weird. You're right.
The like metal sleeve kind of looks like it's bending like fabric.
Yep.
End of sentence. And
it's
don't
weird.
Understand it anymore. It's weird.
It's like those plates shift around. They're not rigid. That's odd. I like it.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Also fun to just, I like his passives. I won't talk about mechanics, I swear. But I like his passives because his support passive is called New Breathing Hole, which I just think is a funny phrase for putting a hole in somebody. But his combat passive, which I was going to call an active passive again, fuck everything, is called Bullets Are Pricey, which is just like a fact about the world that this takes place in. Guns are cheap, but bullets are heavily taxed, so that's why you always have limited ammo. And so his combat passive is just like fucking about how much money he has. Which is a little funny to me.
Unjust enrichment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Smee is like a character in the game.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. It's not just Smee. Okay. Like,
it's not just Smee from Peter Pan. There is a Smee from Peter Pan who is a character in Limbus Company. You fight her at one point.
I see. On a lake.
On a lake.
Which is where you find pirates.
Which is where you find pirates. In the Great Lake.
In the Great Lake. Egos, I guess.
Nope. Kurakumo Clan Captain Gregor.
What? Where is that one? Oh, yeah, that one. I don't know why I think I glossed over it because
this is the one you own?
In game.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of don't think about it. I don't know how to explain better. Did we ever find the bug in this one? I know you were looking really hard for it.
I was looking so fucking hard for it. I will find it, I swear to you. I know it's here. I will find it before the day is up.
Bug.
There it is. It's
I found it. Yeah, me too.
It's by the
Same
chopsticks.
Thing. It's next to his chin. Yeah.
It's eating a meal. Good for it. Happy for him.
Stay healthy.
This basic image looks nice and is drawn well, but I like it. I don't like it for a very specific reason, which is very petty, which is that every time that they position a character in these images, like face down on a table like this, they then adjust the icon in the like character selection menu so that he's more face up, and it looks weird as hell. Like if you go back and look at go back to Twin Hook Pirates and then look at the little mini icon. They just
rotated him like...
They just rotate him. It's fucking weird. I don't like it.
Just rotated him like 70 degrees.
Because I guess his face is just too low in the frame and also rotated.
I guess. Weird.
This is also a character from the most recent event, but also this is way more of a reference to that character from Library of Ruina than it is a reference to that character in the event, so it's kind of hard to parse. I mostly think he looks like a loser in this one, which is fair. And he's allowed. I like that he doesn't have glasses, because instead he has a fucked up eye patch.
It's interesting how much... It's interesting, like, when they care about what parts of characters, because this one is just, like, not about his arm at all, or about him being, like, physically different, which is, like, such an emphasis of Gregor, like, visually.
That's kind of why I don't like it as much.
Yeah, he's just like I mean, I don't know what character this is referencing. I'm only on chapter 3.
There's no way that I could possibly explain it to you in a way that makes sense, so yeah.
Great. He's just like he's like a Japanese gangster. I understand.
Yeah.
Like, I understand it. I just don't know why this is an image of Gregor.
Yeah.
You know?
Mostly the thing that makes it an image of Gregor is that he's a loser.
Right.
And I respect that.
Right.
But
yeah.
The second image doesn't do much to help in terms of, like, emphasizing the fact that he has a fucked up arm. This image, on the other hand, like, the second image is just a picture of June, the character that he's based on.
Cosplaying as?
Yeah, this is just a picture of June. They kind of make his arm look like a prosthetic, but it's difficult because everybody in the Kurakumo clan has these, like, enhancement tattoos, like, all over their body anyway. And so most people's arms do just look like that.
Right.
I think it's deeply interesting. We haven't actually... Yeah, this is the only Gregor identity that has cameos in the card art. Rogia and Ryoshu are in there. Which I think is funny, because usually they only do cameos in the Uptai 1. And then the Uptai 3 is always a battle scene. This is a pre-battle scene, and also it has cameos in it, which is just sort of interesting.
I feel like you could flip these two. I feel like this could be the default, and then the next one is like the aftermath of the battle.
I don't think the first one works as an Uptai 3, but I do think you could use this one as a default and then do a battle scene as an Uptai 3. Like, for sure. Uptai 3 never gets goofier.
Right. Well, you know, subversion, whatever. I won't tell you how to... I like this arm, I think. First of all, cameos. I like that Rogia is just chilling.
Yeah.
She's just chilling. She also, like, doesn't have any tattoos.
She does. They're not visible here.
Really, well, I'm only looking at this image.
Yeah.
In this image, she doesn't have any tattoos. She doesn't appear to be wearing, like, a matching robe or anything. She's just kind of, like, wearing a shirt and a jacket, and she's just kind of chilling with these like, gangsters. It's very funny. The more I look at it, the funnier this image becomes. Which is funny for an image that is trying to be somewhat serious.
I will briefly show you the two cameos in this image are cameos of other characters who have Kurakumo clan identities. So you can just look these up, actually. Kurakumo clan Wakashu Ryoshu and Kurakumo clan Wakashu Rogia. Which is also good because Rogia also makes a cameo in Ryoshu's, which is very funny. And then Hong Lu makes a cameo in Rojia's. Actually, you're right. She doesn't have any visible tattoos except for her, like, titty heart tattoo that she always has. I guess she has a little bit of a tattoo on her shoulder.
She's just chilling.
She
just likes these guys. She just likes hanging out here.
She does. So those are things I know about Kurakumo clan Captain Gregor. I don't care for this one visually. I don't really care for it at all.
Yeah. It's like yeah.
Cardinal sin of being boring and unfitting.
It also, like, it just doesn't have... It doesn't have enough... It's too gray. It's too gray as an image, and the parts that have color don't feel like they matter enough. Which is in contrast to some of his other arts that I really like. There are things that I like about this arm. I like that it's got sort of, like, muscle structures made of wood or iron or whatever. And then there's also this, like, it's got these, like, layered muscle structures of stuff. and this like weird spring, but that doesn't continue down into the forearm. The forearm is kind of bland in comparison to the little bit of the upper arm that we can see, and I just kind of wish the whole arm was kind of like fucked up and like segmented weird muscle things.
Yeah.
Weird muscle plates or whatever the fuck. You know, it's not the most inspiring image.
I will say there is a reason why this image doesn't have a lot of color in it. It's genuinely related to things in the story. So it can be excused for that reason. But not all of the Kurakumo clan images are like this as well. If you look at Ryoshu's, it's like really red. It makes more sense for this one to be really gray because it's directly related to the event. So, you know.
In the whatever corp that Kuroshima can't. Wow, I said that so bad. What is it?
Kurakuma.
Where did I get a sh? What the fuck is wrong with me? Kurakuma. In whatever corp Kurakuma clan is associated with, their special power, what are those called again? They're called Singularities. Their singularities lets them suck all of the color out of the world, like in the Wii game De Blob. That's it. That's the joke.
Do you want me to tell you how close you are to being correct?
Yes.
Not their singularity. This is the backstreets of T Corp. The backstreets of like District whatever the fuck T is that I can't think about right now. District 20? District 20.
Ash running through the whole alphabet in their head.
I think it's 20. It's 20. In the backstreets of District 20, T-Corp sucks all of the color out of the environment, and it's only available in the nest in like an extremely... Wow. This is not a social commentary kind of fucking...
It's just like in the Wii game De Blob.
It's just like in the Wii game De Blob. I don't think that's actually their... It's definitely not actually their singularity. It's just like part of the culture is that you're not allowed to see colors if you're not rich enough.
And like in the much better multi-platform game De Blob 2.
You'll notice... I'm ignoring you. Sorry. You'll notice that the login screen currently is, like, Dante on the bus, but everything is washed out and sepia-toned, and it's because Chapter 6 takes place in District 20. Literally all of the sprites now have a washed-out version, and everything is washed out. It's kind of funny and awesome. Ego. Starting with Suddenly One Day.
Suddenly One Day. There we go.
It's the one that you know.
I'm familiar with this one. No more.
Things about ego. The base ego for every single sinner is a picture of their room inside of the bus. Why, you might ask? Huh? You might ask? How? You might ask? Wouldn't that be fucked up? You might ask? Great point. The bus...
I am asking. They have rooms on the bus? This is much less funny than I thought it was, which is I thought they all just, like, lived on the bus and they just slept on the floor of the bus.
That's what everyone thought prior to, like, Chapter 3.5. So, you know. True. Every piece of fiction written prior to Chapter 3.5 was like, damn it, they have rooms! But they do have rooms. The bus is a fucked up creature, and whenever you go into its, like, back doors, it invents the sinners' rooms based on of their, like, mental state, and so all of their rooms are shitty. This is just where Gregor lives. He lives in a shitty little cell.
Except for Ryoshu, who's normal and has a normal mental state. And isn't getting a chapter because she has no trauma.
Not true.
We've been over this.
We've been over this. He just lives in a shitty little cell with the window outside constantly playing Memories from the Smoke War. I don't think his arm being fucked up is a part of that, but it definitely is. This is what his room looks like. Fun things about this image is that you can tell that he's wearing a G-Corp uniform in it, as we've seen those before.
Without the turtleneck, though.
Without the turtleneck.
He's gone a little lighter. Mm-hmm. It's the summer uniform.
I like all of the broken weapons on the ground. Shout out to the gun.
Shout out to the gun.
I can't tell what it's supposed to say at the top, but there's clearly written "no more" on the right. There's other graffiti on the top, but I can't tell what it says because it's partially obscured by hand.
Yeah, he's being tormented by shadow hands. I think this image is totally fine. This is a perfectly fine default. Fucking, what are these called? Egos. Egos are like your super skills that you can use. They're your alts. It tells you what Gregor's about.
He's about having a fucked up arm.
He's about having a fucked up arm and war trauma. I think that, like, every time I see him use this ego in game, the way that this arm is fucked up is so funny to me, because it bursts out of this sort of like chained up sort of cloth sack that he's got it in, and it's this big beast arm, but like each of the different fingers are a different like element. Like he's Captain Planet or something.
Do you want to know the real reason why?
Why? I'm curious.
There is a direct reference in this ego, for reasons that are currently unknown, to both Lobotomy Corporation and Library of Ruina. If you look at the sprites down at the bottom, you'll see the icons on the chains. Those are the floor icons from Library of Ruina. The floors for each of the Sephiroth. So you've got the Malkuth icon, you've got the Gebra and Chesed icons, you've got the Keter and the Tifereth icons. Like, that's a reference that's there, and I don't know why. The fingers, in the same vein, are the, like, aesthetics of each of the branches of Lobotomy Corporation. There's a control team one, there's a safety team one, there's a training team one.
Right. Okay.
There is no clear reason why this is. But there it is, I guess. The other thing,
the reason is that this game is a sequel to Library of Ruina and Lobotomy Corporation.
You think? The other fun fact about this image is that all of the other sinners in their base ego are wearing a generic prisoner uniform in some kind of way. Instead of wearing a prisoner uniform, Gregor is wearing his G-Corp soldier uniform, and the cloth sack that his arm is in is the prisoner in this situation. So it's made out of that same cloth. Those are my fun facts about this one. I quite like it.
I like it. Next.
I was wrong about which floors that it was. It was Bina and Hakma, not Keter and Tifereth. Sorry, women.
Ash making an official apology to women.
Leisure Domain.
Where's this? Ledgerman. Yeah. Ledger Domain.
Fun fact about all of the ego: every single one of them will have him with a fucked up arm.
Hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah.
It's always about his arm. The attack is always centered around his arm. He never has a normal arm.
this one does wooden arm so much better than any of the 2 question mark that have him have wooden arms.
Yeah.
Of his like skins. I know what this is about because I fought this boss.
Yay! This ego is based on the Golden Apple boss.
He hit you with a big golden apple.
Mm-hmm.
The golden apple is the boss that in chapter 1, which is Gregor's chapter, you kill the golden apple to save a girl named Yuri, and then she becomes a permanent part of your team and lives happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it goes.
And then the golden apple, once you defeat it, the more important thing is that the golden apple turns into the false apple, which is just a beast made of maggots, which I think is fun.
Delicious.
You can see, do they have corrosion sprites down at the bottom? Yeah, they do. You can see the idol for his normal version and the idol for his corroded version. The corroded version is false apple. It's covered in maggots. It's really, really good.
Bugs. Delicious.
Apparently, legerdemain means skillful use of one's hands when performing conjuring tricks. That's just sleight of hand. Thank you. I like this one quite a bit. I like the idea that this big fucking... It's not an apple that's growing out of his arm. It's just like a big sack of maggot.
Uh-huh.
And it bursts.
Secretly. Yeah. I love all the, like, vines, the woody vines twisting around him, that, like, don't have, except for the ones at his feet, a lot of them don't, like, logically follow from anywhere else, and so it's not fully clear where they're growing from, except for him, but they're, like, especially the one, like, at his hip, really, like, gives the impression that it's growing out of, but then around him.
Which is quite good.
Which is quite good.
I also like the, like, leafy vines that are around his human arm that mostly just kind of look like cracks in his skin. Quite good. Part of the thing about this ego, and they do this a lot with Gregor, and I'm not completely sure why, but I'm certainly not against it, is that they like giving him little horns. This is a theme.
Huh. Yeah, I like them.
I like them.
I like them.
I'm really glad that they have the idle corrosion sprite up on this wiki, because the corrosion is important and good. Yeah.
Yeah. Bugs.
Maggots.
Delicious.
Lantern, Gregor.
Inflict 5 maggots.
Yeah. Maggots.
Lantern. There we go.
Here's another one where he has little horns and also wood.
Huh. Oh, this one's fun.
It's quite good.
I like this one a lot.
I like this one quite a lot.
I'm learning that maybe they do this with some frequency, but I do love an image that is filled with eyes staring at a single point in the image.
Have you, in your Lobotomy Corporation experiences, do you have Meat Lantern?
Do I have Meat Lantern? No, looking at this does remind me of Big Bird.
It is not... Well, okay. It's synthesizing a couple of things from Lobotomy Corporation. In much the same... You're familiar with sort of the way that this game is doing what are called aberrations, which are just like reskins / alternate versions of abnormalities from Lobotomy Corporation. This is an aberration of Meat Lantern, thus why this ego is called Lantern, but it is also doing a couple other things. It's doing the Dark Forest Big Bird thing, and it's also doing the Fairy Festival thing. So it's like 3 things in one. But the important thing about Meat Lantern is that it sticks out a little, like, thing from the ground when it breaks out, and then anybody who walks over that spot gets fucking ate. It just comes up from the ground and traps you and swallows you. And so what you can see in this image is that he is sitting in the middle of that, like, maw. And that's what's really good about it, and that's why I needed to explain it fully.
Right. I understand. But he's also becoming the maw.
Mm-hmm. And also, everything will be peaceful as long as you are under the fairy's care.
I like how they do the texture of the wood in this one so much different than the texture in the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
It just gives off for 2 things in which it's about him being ensconced in wood and vines, they give off extremely different vibes.
Yeah.
This one has a sort of like how do I describe things? Ash, help. How does one describe things?
Well, we do a podcast about this.
Shit, you're right. Fuck. I should know this by now. But there's like
Gnarled?
I'm thinking real hard.
That's the one adjective I can offer you.
I have to look at the other one again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Oh, I figured out the word. It's not the word you're expecting. The word is controlled. It's the fact that like the plants and like his arm and like just the general vibe of the scene. They're somewhat thematically similar in their sort of like, you know, woodsy fairy tale stuff, and in their just like use of wood and vines as a centralizing element. But this, the previous one, the golden apple one, is very chaotic. Everything looks like it's spiraling out of control constantly. And he doesn't look particularly in control of that. He looks kind of like accepting of his fate in a sense.
Yeah.
In this one, everything is very controlled. Like the wood and the vines are still like gnarled to an extent, but it feels there's like a very organic intention to the way that they like specifically curl to create specific shapes.
They're like deliberately crisscrossed across the body in an even configuration.
Yeah. And like the vines coming down from the ceiling almost give the impression of like insect legs in the way that they're like evenly jointed.
It's fucking bug time once again, baby.
It's secretly bug time. And it feels like intentional and controlled. Both on the part of the horrible monster forest that's surrounding him and on his part. Jesus. And on his part. And that gives this image a very good vibe. It's went on a very long journey to to find that.
No, it's important because I think this image is really, really good. It's just like composed really compellingly. I love thinking about the fact that this is the center of a giant maw that's going to snap up and consume you. Looking at the idol for the ego, you can see, it's hard to tell in the actual, like, main art, but he's wearing a little monocle. Which is kind of awesome. It's because one of his eyes is, covered and consumed by branches, so you know how it is.
You know how it is.
You know how it is with spaghetti. And then the corrosion of it is the purest form of, like, what this abnormality looks like when it breaks out. That little flower poking up from the ground that entices you to come closer so that you can get snapped up in its jaws. It just becomes the fairy poking out, and then you come to the fairy, and then you get snapped up in its jaws.
Ow.
Ow! I do want to be clear, this ego is extremely bad. Oops, whoops.
For our purposes, it just needs to be nice to look at.
It's really nice to look at, though, and that's what matters.
And, wow, that does seem really bad.
It's not good. Like, I always hope that it'll be good. This is one of the other ones that does healing. I always hope that it'll be good, and it just isn't. It's self-healing, and it's not good. What's the next one? Oh, it's AEDD.
Find out what it means to me.
Find out what it means to me.
I was like, where's his arm? And then I realized what his arm was.
It's the centipede!
It's the centipede.
You can once again see that they love giving him little horns. Those are weird little mandibles poking out from his head.
Huh.
God only knows why. Yeah, his arm is a centipede in this one. It's fascinating. This outfit is not dissimilar from the, like, outfit that Herman and the gang wear. So people had a field day with that one for a bit. But it's also just, like, the Limbus uniform with a blue coat. So... It can be either or both. This one is, like... I like that his arm is a big centipede. I don't like this one as much as a piece of key art because it looks like it could just be an identity image. Like, he's just a guy with a big centipede arm.
Yeah.
He's wearing an outfit.
There's nothing there's nothing especially compelling about him. Mm-hmm. Oh, he has little centipede boots also.
He does.
That's cute.
They're cute.
There's nothing super compelling about him, which, like, I guess what they're going for is that he has this big centipede arm that looks like it's gonna attack him, but he's nonchalant about it because he's cool. Mm-hmm. But, like, first of all, he shouldn't be allowed to be cool in this way. But also, like, the fact that it like diminishes the impact of the centipede arm. First of all, the composition of this image is very kind of confusing.
Yeah, it's busy.
I keep losing track of things. I don't really understand where the big centipede in the background is coming from.
I can answer part of that for you, which is that they have to have some kind of image of the abnormality in this image so that when it corrodes, they can change the portrait from being focused on Gregor's face to being focused on the abnormality's face. So that's why there's a big centipede in the background, but it does make it visually difficult. All of the shock effects being everywhere also doesn't help. I really wish they were just concentrated in one place. And then I would get something out of it.
Yeah, and like the fact that he is not reacting to the centipede at all, I guess says that he's cool and nonchalant, but also tells us nothing about this centipede, you know? Like he's not like sort of like interacting with it affectionately to show that they have a positive relationship. He's not like keeping it at bay or
there's no character to it.
Yeah.
I don't accept cool and nonchalant as a Gregor character.
Yeah. And so, like, you know, what's he doing?
What's
We
he
just
doing?
don't know. There's no character to the centipede. And this is kind of like, this isn't really that much better in his idle sprite.
No.
Where it kind of looks like Lin Lang, where like we just kind of get the impression that he's just sort of that he's just dragging this fucking like Halloween fucking decoration around.
Yeah, his electric centipede. I do love the little centipede boots that's just on one leg, so it's like crawling up his leg. Fun. Otherwise, this is just a uniform, which is nothing.
Yeah.
I will say I do get something out of the corrosion, but it's really subtle. Because mostly this is just the same image, but with a couple of details added. But I do like that his employee ID now has his face X'd out.
Huh.
That's like really compelling to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, things are more active in the corrosion idle sprite. It's nice.
Also, his cockroach is on his shoulder in this one. Oh, sorry, his beep.
You just say the word and I'll beep it out. Oh yeah.
I don't think it's actually in, like, other egos of his. So
I didn't notice it. I'm frustrated that I'm nonplussed by this.
Yeah.
Because I think that this could be such a cool arm. And
yeah. Well, I can help you out by saying that this is one of those where this ego exists on multiple people. Multiple people have different versions of this same ego. And Heathcliff has a version of it, and Heathcliff's looks cooler. So,
well,
there you go. I think if you click into Shock Centipede, yeah. If you click into Shock Centipede, you can scroll down to Gallery, and then Depicted in Heathcliff's AEDD. I'll just send you the picture of it, because it's, like, better.
I don't know how you're navigating this wiki this fast.
I know what is in this video game. It's like, it's still visually busy, but because it's not a whole arm, it just, like, is more compelling.
Sure.
He's just got a big bat. And then part of his face is fucked up. Anyway. Are we already to the last one? Yeah, we are. Garden of Thorns, baby!
Garden of Thorns.
Garden of Thorns is the newest Gregor ego. It got released like a week ago. People have been calling this one Marriage Gregor, and also Jesus Gregor.
Uh-huh.
It's both.
Congrats to Gregor.
Congrats to Gregor. I think this one is... No, the abnormality for it is Sign of Roses. My bad. Oh, that's because it's on a fucking part of the refraction railway I didn't do. So I'm not familiar with this abnormality at all. This one is fun because it's his wall level ego, which is the highest level ego that we have for anybody so far. He's not the first person to get a wall level ego, that was Ishmael. But it is fun to have, like, an extremely strong ego. It's cool and fucked up, I like it. In this one, he's Jesus, and also marriage.
Uh-huh.
They have the animated version of his corrosion sprite on here? Goddamn. Do that for everyone, please.
I do think that this is one in which, like, it is kind of sick.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it that. If you edit Gregor out of this image, maybe even and tone down the eyes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It does kind of have big Mysterium card energy.
Yeah.
In a really specific, indescribable way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very useful for indicating anything except your room is the garden.
Yeah. But it is there.
I think it's really funny how much of what is going on is obscured in this image that you can only see in the sprites.
Yeah. It's like way the core
they just
art
cover
for this
his
one
hand
is just not as good as the actual ego looks. Like, I will send you the fucking promo video for this ego because it looks cool. And I think this is sad that the like main image is not doing it.
I don't understand on their like fucked up big arm guy. They would just like deliberately put an object in front of his arm in the art.
Here, let me send you this, which is the official promo video for this extraction of Garden of Thorns Gregor.
Okay, that's pretty sick.
It is! He, like, reaches out and his robe opens up a little bit and then he punches the ground and it's really cool.
Uh-huh. And then big thorns come out. It's sick.
Also, the voice acting on this one, Gregor's voice actor goes hard every single time, and, like, I can't express that well in this. Well, I guess, really, you can express it uniquely well in this audio medium. I was like, this is a podcast where we discuss visuals. What the fuck?
Uh-huh.
What's wrong with us?
This is the first time.
This is not the first time I'm realizing this.
This isn't the first time you've had this realization.
It's not the first time.
This is the first time you've reacted this strongly to it.
Well, yeah. But it is like, his voice actor goes really hard, and so on the corrosion line where he goes, hands off, it's like really good, it's really strong. I like this, like, outfit that he's in. I don't know if I love the way it's drawn in this image, but it's like...
Yeah.
It looks more like marriage Gregor in this image, because it looks more like a dress than a robe. But, like, I love the slit on the side. I really like the, fucking... my mother's gonna be disappointed in me that I don't know the name of this thing. The thing that priests wear around their shoulders. The little strips of fabric. We've discussed this on this podcast before. Then I failed to identify them.
Oh, we have.
He has some of those, which is fun.
Yeah, it's so frustrating, and I don't know if it's just because it's almost the end of the podcast, but I want to like this image so much more than I do. I love, like, the setting of it. I loved the fucked up, like, eye blob nailed to the cross. Like, I like his outfit. I like what he's got going on.
It's just not the best represented by this key art.
It just doesn't, but yeah, like the image just doesn't quite come together for me.
It also doesn't help that he has my least favorite Gregor expression, which is just sort of like cool impassiveness.
Yeah, he also like looks a little bit too pretty. It's something about his face. Couldn't tell you exactly, but and I just like it feels like sometimes often and this is just kind of how it goes with like we might be hitting the thesis of not just this episode, but like the entire show. It feels like sometimes the art in this game can really fall apart when they just try a little bit too hard. Like there's this image is trying to like have too many things in it. It's trying to like get you a clear look at the abnormality on this specific thing, and it wants you to see the environment very clearly, but it also wants you to see his outfit, his whole outfit very clearly. And trying to fit all of these elements in all at once ends up making it feel very unfocused and kind of bland and like symmetrical, not in a good way. And it feels it's trying too hard to just have too many things in the frame rather than have an image that is like about a thing that's happening.
The thing that makes Lantern such a good image, I think, is really in its variations in color. And I think that's really where this one falls apart. Because it's got this big red center, but it's also doesn't direct your eye in that way because the rose petals are everywhere. That's my thesis about this one, is that the color like of it is one note and it makes it hard to focus.
Yeah, there really isn't any your eye is not directed anywhere at all ever. Like the fact that Gregor's face is right in front of the thing is right next to his hand. And then his outfit is just like not particularly interesting. Like it's good, but it's not like a focal point interesting.
Yeah. This image would be improved by colors and lighting.
I think that this image would be improved by like not having literally everything in exactly the center of the frame.
Yeah, that too.
I think you can pull off an image that is this kind of very classic like black, white, and red. And it could be fine. But like you need like Lantern is a great example of, you know, how art works, where like it's got this bright glowing blue fairy and then it's got like a clear like path for your eye to travel like down from there and then look over Gregor and then see the eyes, and it, you know, it works classic way that art works. It tells a story just by the way your eye is drawn through the frame.
I think this could be improved very simply, as like even keeping it largely the same compositionally by just zooming it in slightly and then removing a lot of the thorns and roses from the like background, middle ground, and foreground where they're clogging the image.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you have to. I wish that his. I just want his. I agree, and I think zooming in would be really good. I think like having the fact that like there is sky between the top of the abnormality and the top of the frame is really bad because it makes it look really small and stupid.
Yeah.
If you zoom in such that the abnormality clips into the top of the frame and we don't know how big it is, that would do wonders for making it look better and more ominous. I would love for his posing to be closed. An image that another one of his egos that is not as good as Lantern, but Legerdemain Gregor, like is much more, has a lot less going on than Lantern, but at least it has, like, you look at his face and the big apple, and then your eye, like, travels down the arm and sees the small apple that isn't quite an apple, and it's something. I think even just like moving his left, like moving his left hand so that he's like holding the roses out to the side. One, doesn't cover up his hand because he's Gregor.
Mm-hmm.
And two, just like gives like then we have like a diagonal direction. We have a diagonal line in the frame, and not only one line which is vertical, you know?
Yes. I do know. I'm understanding and comprehending and agreeing.
I want to like it so much.
I want to like it
but
so
it's
bad.
Just not doing it.
Fortunately, the animations, which are the thing you actually see in the video game, are really good. So,
yeah.
Peace and love.
I think the sprites for this one look sick.
They do. Shout out to Marriage, Gregor.
He's Jesus. Uh-huh. This is what it's like. You get married, and then you get crucified. The old...
I didn't think about... I'm interrupting you. I didn't think about how to end this episode of the podcast.
No, me neither.
But it did make me think, how do we usually end an episode of this podcast? And I have a lot of opinions about Gregor. So I think that if we're going to put him on a scale, and we can, I think you should do it. Because I'm too close to the situation.
Right.
But if you're wrong, I kill you.
Great. Wow, fantastic.
This is a good environment to work in, right?
Yeah, that's okay. I'll go fast, mostly because looking at this makes me want to go play Limbus Company.
Are you gonna keep me up until 4 a.m. again?
I'll keep you. How does 2 sound?
How
about we like? Okay, because wait, do you go back to school next week?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll sort of like
ease me back into a normal sleep schedule.
We'll do like step down. We'll do a step down recovery where it's like last night we stayed up until 5. I guess it was 4 for you.
Mm-hmm.
So we have tonight, Friday, Saturday. So then we can go 4. So then we can do 3, 2, 1. Then you still have. Hang on. We can do. No, we'll do 3, 2, 1, and you'll just figure it out.
Okay.
You can make up that last hour and a half. I believe in you.
Thanks.
Garden of Thorns, Gregor. Wait, what are we talking about? Oh, we're giving him a scale number, right?
But watch out.
Is it? Is it too mean to say? Again, not that it's a quality judgment. Is it too mean to say that he's a 0 cute?
He is repulsive.
He is repulsive.
But I don't know if that reflects on cute or appealing.
My instinct is that reflects on appealing. But also he's not cute. There are cute characters in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm scrolling down. I'm looking at the list of... Wait, hang on. That's not the direction to where I find the list of characters. I'm looking at the list of playable sinners. Let's do some counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. At least 6 of these guys have a decent chance to have high cute scores.
How many of the people you just selected are men?
2.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I know you have trouble thinking about men in this video game.
I'm getting better at it.
I believe in you.
Do you want me to tell you who I think could have high cute scores?
You can tell me later.
Okay, great. And so I don't feel bad giving Gregor a low cute score. I just don't think... I think his whole thing is that he's unappealing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also his whole thing is that he's not very cute. I think he's a little cute. I'm looking at Zwei Association.
Mm-hmm.
I pronounce that
Zwei
in a super fucked up way. I'm looking at Zwei Association. I'm looking at Default G Corp. I'm looking at Twin Hooks Pirates.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a little bit cute. He's a bit of a silly, goofy guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes him a little bit cute. But I think his whole thing is that he's unappealing. He's repulsive.
Correct. You're doing well so far.
So I think he might be a 1 or 2 cute. He might even just be a 1 cute. And a 0 appealing.
Mm-hmm. And then you have to put him on the Kinsey scale.
Then I have to put him on the Kinsey scale.
I'm going to remain so silent.
Great.
I have opinions. That's my problem.
Uh-huh. The thing is that I know at least some of your opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, do I want to try and appease you or do I want to strike out on my own?
This is just like Mafia.
This is just like Mafia. Trying to appease others is wolf behavior. Don't
true.
listen to their lies.
Don't listen to
get
their
pocketed,
lies.
people.
Half flesh isn't your real hand.
Soulmates PSA. Don't get pocketed. Right. So 1 cute, 0 appealing, and this is the first time I'm gonna like look at a Kinsey scale just to sort of think about it.
Mm-hmm. Talk me through your thought process.
Kind of hard. I think that he is... I genuinely think that he's just a 3? Not just a 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that he's just very honestly bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he has a relationship I think he has a relationship to relationships with other people, and also a relationship to both his own and other people's bodies that is just kind of very casual and open.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that he just is bisexual and also just doesn't think about it that much.
Mm-hmm.
Do I get killed now?
No, I think you're onto something. I'm way more comfortable calling him bisexual than I am calling him straight. Because nobody's straight in this goddamn video game. But he is a transgender man to me. And I believe in him and Rogia until the end of time because they're really, really cute. And I also think that Rogia is a transgender woman, and I think they're just kind of bisexual together. Which is... So I think you've gotten it right in this way. My opinions about people's, like... Sometimes my opinions are colored by, like, what I know is popular from my brief stint on Project Moon Twitter. And obviously, yowie! But I also think that multiple, like, popular fucking gay people ships for Gregor, just kind of don't make sense to me, mostly about his fucking weirdness about his own body. So I think you officially get it better than people whose opinions I dislike on Twitter. So you win!
It's almost like I'm very genderqueer and also have a lot of bodily changing medical experiences and am also disabled.
Yippee!
Makes you think.
Makes you think.
I'm just gonna read some of these Garden of Thorns Gregor comments on the wiki to close this out. Here we go. Bribe Gregor. Yeah! My beautiful male wife Gregor. A subtle hint to how sign of roses is Jesus, just in case you hadn't figured that out yet. Somehow. I really like this one. Gregor ain't beating the baby girl allegations with this one.
Okay.
He will be Gregnant when I'm done with him. Some random YouTube comment. And then, surprised there's no Pregor comments yet. Well, then you're too early. And then in reply, well, then you're too early. Check the comment above your own. Fascinating. People are
real weird about
normal. People are normal about video games and the characters in them. This is something I've learned. Great. Well, I guess that's an episode.
That's an episode. We did it, guys.
We did it, guys.
I didn't die.
You did. What? Oh, right. I forgot about that. I was like, I was at risk of death. Don't take risk of death away from me.
No, my death was different. You survived my opinions dungeon, and I survived your Limbus Company spontaneous episode dungeon.
Yeah, we did decide to do this, tonight. I guess we're getting back on track next time.
Yep.
Great. Well, we'll see you all. Don't forget, I should say this more, don't forget to rate and review us on your podcast app of choice, especially Apple Podcasts. Helps a lot. And, recommend the show to your friends. Do a little bit of astroturfing for us. That would be great.
Please. If you have opinions on Limbus Company, you can just at me on the show's co-host, and I will put my whole ass out there on the internet.
Great. At the co-host with your Limbus Company opinions, and we'll see you next time.
Bye!
Bye!
어쩔지 이겼네. 수고 많았어 관리자 양반.